Give me a place to stand, and I will move the earth. Archimedes said that centuries ago, a line that sounds like a challenge to the universe. Yet, if you listen closely, it isn't arrogance. It's a confession, a paradox disguised as confidence. He wasn't claiming divine strength. He was admitting human limitation. It's not about moving the earth. It's about needing a foothold. He's saying, I know what I can do, if only I'm allowed to try. And that small if, that conditional word, carries everything we still struggle with today. Because most of us live there, inside that if. We know what we could build, who we could become, what we could change, if only something or someone gave us the ground to begin. We're told from a young age to be independent, to figure things out alone, to be strong enough not to ask. But the older I get, the more I see how dependent life really is. How every great movement begins not with action, but with a request. To ask is to declare possibility. Yet we hesitate. We don't ask for help, for space, for forgiveness, for clarity, for love. We just wait and hope someone will guess. We call it humility, or timing, or patience, but it's usually fear. The fear of being misunderstood, of being rejected, or worst of all, of being ignored. And so, we carry quiet desires like unopened letters, written but never sent. It's strange how the simple act of asking feels more vulnerable than the labor of doing. We can work ourselves to exhaustion, but to say, I need this, feels unbearable. Maybe that's because asking requires us to admit we don't already have everything we need. It requires faith, not just in others, but in the idea that the universe might respond. Because when we ask, we enter a kind of dialogue. Whether it's with another person, with life itself, or with whatever we believe watches from the silence, we are saying, I'm ready to participate. And maybe that's what people now call manifesting. A word that sounds new, but is probably ancient. The same instinct that once made people pray, write, whisper, confess. The act of saying something out loud, not because it guarantees an answer, but because it finally feels real when spoken. Manifesting isn't magic, it's conversation. It's the moment when your desire stops being a thought and becomes a vibration in the air. Archimedes asked for a place to stand. We ask for courage, clarity, luck, love. Different centuries, same motion of spirit. Sometimes, when I can't say it to anyone else, I write it down. I let the page hold what my voice cannot. Maybe that's all journaling really is. The first draft of a request, the pre-speech of the soul. Writing it doesn't always change the world, but it changes me. It gives shape to what was formless. It lets me meet my own longing without judgment. And sometimes that's enough. Because maybe that's what Archimedes meant. That before you can move the earth, you need to name the point from which you'll push. The lever is your effort. The place to stand is your faith. Faith that something unseen, the divine, the universe, the quiet moral architecture of existence will meet you halfway. Of course, there's a contradiction here. If everything depends on asking, then why are there times when we do ask and nothing happens? Why does the silence linger? I think about that often. Maybe the point isn't to be granted every wish, but to discover what still remains true even when the wish goes unanswered. To realize that speaking it aloud was never a guarantee. It was the beginning of movement. The act itself changes the asker. Every time you name what you want, you come a little closer to understanding why you want it. And maybe that's the quiet lesson hidden behind the lever. That asking is not a transaction. It's an alignment.
We already manifest things all the time, just in reverse. We tell ourselves stories of why something won't happen, and the universe nods politely and agrees. All right, if that's your truth. But what if we began to tell a different story? One where our desires were allowed to breathe. Not as demands, not as entitlement, but as small experiments in faith. Even saying it privately, even whispering it into the dark, begins to change something inside. Because the page, the prayer, the thought, they all count as ground. Lately, I've been thinking about my own quiet desires, the ones I tucked away years ago, thinking they were impractical or childish. There's a kind of archaeology to self-reflection. You brush off the dust, and there it is, still humming, still alive, still waiting to be asked for. Maybe courage doesn't always roar. Maybe it sighs. Maybe it sits at your desk late at night and writes one honest sentence. Maybe this is what it means to speak with the universe, not demanding a miracle, but simply saying, "Here I am. This is what I long for." So tonight, I think I'll go looking. I'll open those quiet drawers in my mind and pull out the desires I filed away. Some will make me laugh. Some will make me ache. A few might still be worth saying aloud. I don't know if speaking them will change anything outside of me, but I suspect it will change something within me. Because silence keeps dreams suspended. And words, even whispered ones, give them gravity. Maybe. Maybe this is how movement begins. Not with the strength of the arm, but with the courage of the voice. I feel like I need to dig deep into my filed-away desires to see which ones I should speak out loud. What have you left unsaid for too long?